September 11th. I was in geometry class in high school, and it's a day that I'll absolutely never forget because my dad was traveling that day. So we couldn't get a hold of him for a really long time because his flight was switched from Chicago to another city in Philadelphia. And we had no idea where he was all day. And you instantly are scared for our whole family and for his safety. And I feel terrible for all the people that lost somebody on September 11th.
I remember on September 11th, I was sitting in a meeting in the morning, and my wife called me to tell me that a plane had crashed into the World Trade Center. And recall the meeting, people were getting wind of it, and the meeting breaking up, and people retreating to offices, and in a lot of cases just in time to watch the second plane hit the Twin Towers, and just the feeling of utter disbelief and uncertainty as to what was going to happen next, and wondering what the country would be dragged into.
9/11 to me meant that you're not as prepared as you think you are, and you can never have too much planning, too much contingency planning in place, too much training and first response, and also there's circumstances that no one can control. There's always going to be disasters that we might not be able to fully prevent. We just have to be prepared mentally and physically to respond to those disasters.
It was the beginning of the loss of innocence for this country, and to have something actually occur on our shores was really devastating. The loss of lives, the impact of it all, it was devastating.
When I first heard about it, I was still at home, and at that time they thought it was just a horrible accident. By the time I got to work, first thing I did was find a radio and turn it on to see what else was happening. By then, they knew that it was not an accident. By then, I think the second plane had already hit. And I remember I just knew at that moment that our world would never be the same.
I was across the street from the Pentagon when the plane went in. Jet fuel immediately filled the meeting room at our hotel. What mattered most to me is that I saw the best of people in the face of the tragedy. The hotel staff actually went home, baked cookies for all of us that were stuck in the hotel. But for me personally, the bravest person in my life through that whole time was my wife, who drove down from Cleveland to Baltimore alone to pick me up. Baltimore was as far away from Washington as I could get on September 11th.
And I was watching things unfold on TV, and I found out my wife was trying to get a hold of me. And I thought, well, she probably wants to tell me that this has happened. That must be what she wants, but I'll call her. I called her up, and she was pretty upset, and she explained that Stevie, our nephew, was in one of the Twin Towers there taking training, and he worked for Morgan Stanley at the time. He was a new employee. And watching it unfold before I knew that we had a relative in there was a different feeling. It really hit home, and we were both pretty upset. And it wasn't a short time later that one of the towers fell. And I don't think I could ever describe the feeling that I felt seeing the tower go down, thinking that we had family in that tower. As it turns out, Stevie made it out with just a couple minutes to spare. And he came home, and we all met as a family, the whole group of us, and he said, I'm only going to talk about it one time. He explained what he saw, what he went through, and he has never really spoken of it again. And that's my story from 9/11.
On September 11th, 2001, I was at Randolph Air Force Base in Texas, near San Antonio, where I was the Director of Logistics for the Air Force's Training Command. Shortly after I got to the office in the morning, I was informed of the first attack and then turned on the TV in my office and watched the second attack on the Twin Towers, as well as pictures of the destruction at the Pentagon. Shortly after that, our base was directed to shut down completely And like all bases around the world, our security forces were bent on finding people intending similar destruction and killing them before that could happen. As you know, that did not happen. My mission on that day was to make sure that the people in the 3 buildings that made up my operation were safe, and that we would begin as a team to prepare for operating in a completely different normal. Terrorism uses publicity to magnify the impacts of its atrocities, to compel compliance with its demands. And by that measure, this terrorist campaign has mostly failed. History teaches us, however, that we must be relentless about our pursuit of these people to make sure that they cannot complete their mission. People ask, are we winning? Can we win? And my answer is yes and yes. America has done it before, and America will surely do it again.